All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to ask that you go ahead and drop your name and PDS number in the chat box. And we will start this webinar by making sure that you all understand how to do your interpretation. We'll give you instructions in both the desktop and in case you're using a mobile device. And I will allow Miss Margaret to do those instructions for us. And we will also have those instructions repeated by Mr. Claudio.
Good morning. Thank you all for joining us for another Thriving Childcare Business Academy webinar. We're very fortunate to have Claudio joining us to do live Spanish interpretation for this webinar. So once we enable this function, you're going to see this globe icon appear in your bottom toolbar if you're joined on a desktop computer or the desktop app. Once enabled, you want to select that globe and then you will see your language options. Your options will be to listen in English or in Spanish. It's really important that you do make a language selection so that we can hear any questions that come from participants that are participating in English or Spanish. The settings will appear a little bit differently if you are joined on a mobile device or a mobile app. Marlene, if you want to move forward one slide, thank you. To locate the interpretation function on a mobile device, you're going to have to select the three dots that above where it says more, and then you're going to see the option for interpretation there. Again, the same order of operations, select language interpretation, and then you can make your language selection from there, English or Spanish. Again, that function hasn't been enabled yet, but we'll let you know when it has, and then look out for the globe or your three dots and more to make your language selection. Claudio is now going to give those instructions for anyone participating in Spanish as well.
Thank you, Margaret. Can we go back one slide, please? Muy buenas tardes. Estamos por comenzar la interpretación. Cuando esta comience, usted va a ver un icono de un globo o un mundito en la parte de abajo de la pantalla de Zoom. Usted le va a hacer clic ahí y escoger canal de español. Si usted está en una tableta o en un celular, una portátil, usted lo verá en los tres puntos en la parte izquierda de arriba de la pantalla. Asegúrese de hacerle clic donde dice Done cuando ya escoja el canal de español para que funcione. Si tiene cualquier problema técnico, por favor, háganos saber en el chat y le podremos ayudar. If you have any issues with the interpretation, please let us know in the chat. We'll be trying to help you out. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Claudio. Appreciate that. We can go ahead and enable your choice now for language preference.
Yes, interpretation has started. So please make your selection by clicking the globe icon and then selecting English or Spanish, or your language selection above your more settings option.
Right, and just want to make sure that, Margaret, I'm reaching out to you to make sure that I need to do that as well, because I'm not seeing that function popping up for me just yet. Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Hopefully, everything is going to be the way it should be. Welcome again, everyone, to Future Growth and Business Planning. So, is it time for your business to grow? In this webinar, we will review a checklist of steps that will help you decide if and when to expand your childcare business. Now, the information contained here has been prepared by Civitas Strategies and is not intended to constitute legal, tax, or financial advice. The Civitas Strategies team has used reasonable efforts in collecting and preparing this information, does not guarantee its accuracy, completeness, adequacy, or currency. Publication and distribution of this information is not intended to create, and receipt does not constitute an attorney-client or any other advisory relationship. Reproduction of this information is expressly prohibited. Only non-commercial uses of this work are permitted. So, if you are interested in growing your childcare business in the future, there are many topics that may be on your mind. Future growth is exciting to think about, but it also takes a lot of effort. So in today's discussion, we'll talk through process of planning for expansion. We will explore the pros and the cons of expansion so that you can make a more informed decision. There are going then we're going to walk through the 5 essential steps for expansion, and we'll show you how to utilize your budget and cash flow when making an expansion decision. And finally, we're going to talk about putting your expansion plans into action. Expanding your child care business can be a great strategy for the long term that builds productivity, brings in more revenue, and more importantly, brings quality child care and more children. However, attempting to grow your business before you have taken the steps needed to support this growth can be intimidating and cause problems that you are not prepared for. Sometimes small businesses will grow too fast or move forward without the necessary structure and capacity to execute the expansion, which can weaken or even end a business rather than strengthen it. As such, if you are thinking about growing your business, we recommend you first run through the 5 steps we will discuss today to decide if and when you are ready to expand. Now, these steps were created using decades of experience from multiple childcare business experts around the nation, and it will help you take the actions you need to sustainably expand your business. Now, let's discuss the essential initial steps to take before embarking on your expansion journey. These steps are crucial for setting a strong foundation for growth. First, conduct a thorough assessment of your current operations. It's important to ensure your business is running smoothly and efficiently before considering expansion. If you're experiencing frequent operational challenges, it may be wise to address these issues before growing your business. Next, invest time in market research. Now, this goes beyond that basic online search. Engage directly with your community. Speak with parents and caregivers to understand their needs and identify any gaps in childcare services. This valuable information will help inform your expansion plans. And lastly, reflect on your personal readiness for expansion. Growing your business can be rewarding, but it also comes with increased responsibility and challenges. Ensure that you're genuinely prepared and enthusiastic about this next step in your business journey. So now that we've outlined these initial steps, let's examine why they are so crucial. Taking the time to prepare thoroughly can help mitigate the risks associated with rapid expansion. Speaking of risks, let's take a closer look at what can happen if a business expands too quickly. Now, while growth is often a positive sign for your business, expanding too rapidly without proper preparation can lead to significant challenges. So let's explore some of these risks to understand why a measured approach is crucial. Firstly, financial strain is a major concern. Rapid expansion often requires substantial upfront investment in facilities, equipment, and staffing. Now, if your revenue doesn't grow as quickly as your expenses, you may find yourself in a difficult cash flow situation. This can potentially jeopardize not just your expansion plans, but your entire business. Now, another risk is the potential for quality deteriorations. Now, as a child care provider, the quality of care we offer is paramount. When expanding quickly, it can be challenging to maintain consistent quality across all aspects of your service. Now, this might include staff training, individualized attention to children, or adherence to your educational philosophy. Staffing challenges can also arise. Finding qualified staff is often cited as one of the biggest hurdles in our industry. Rapid expansion may force you to hire quickly, potentially compromising on the quality of your team or not providing adequate training. Now, this can impact the care you provide and your reputation in the community. So, there's also the risk of losing your business's core identity or culture. Now, what makes your business or your childcare services unique? As you grow, it can become more difficult to maintain the personal touch or specific approach that initially made your business successful. Regulatory compliance is another area of concern. Different locations or expanded services may come with new licensing requirements or regulations. So, keeping up with these while maintaining rapid growth can be overwhelming and may lead to costly mistakes. And lastly, there's the risk of market oversaturation. Now, if you expand too quickly without thoroughly assessing long term demand, you might find yourself with more capacity than your local market needs, leading to under-enrollment and financial strain. Understanding these risks doesn't mean we should shy away from growth. Rather, it underscores the importance of careful planning. This is where our 5-step expansion checklist comes in. So let's take a look at how this tool can help guide your growth strategy. So here's our 5 steps to expansion planning. Step one, assess your demand. It's important to know that your childcare business will have the demand needed to support your growth. Step two, consider your staffing needs. Think about staffing needs that your business will require when you expand. Step three, develop a clear picture of your finances. Ask yourself, what does a clear financial future look like for your business? Step four, create a business plan. Outlining your goals through the development of your business plan helps you to have a clear understanding and projected timeline for your growth. And step five, assessing capital to support your growth. Now, we will dig into each of these a little more over the next few slides. Now, step one, again, is assess your demand. One of the most important factors for growth is making sure that there are families looking for childcare. You must make sure that you have the level of enrollment needed to provide the revenue to sustain your growth before you begin the expansion process. That's why we recommend that your first step is to make sure the demand by the parents and the families exist to support the growth that you want to undertake. So first, do you have a waiting list? The first indicator that it may be a good idea to expand your program is if you have more demand than you have available slots. If your current spots are all filled and you continue to receive inquiries from prospective families, this is a sign that there is enough demand to support your expansion. If you use a wait list, now may be a good time to ensure its accuracy. Taking some time to contact the parents to confirm their continued interest can be time well spent if you are thinking about expansion. On the other hand, if you don't have enough children enrolled to sustain your current business as it is, expanding will put an added burden on you as you try to assume the additional cost of expansion without having the projected revenue to sustain it. Next, you want to ask, is there a demand for the type of care that you plan to offer? While a waitlist may give you a good assessment of demand, it may not tell the full story of the type of services that are in demand. So be sure to talk to your current families to better understand if they would be willing to be a part of your expanded childcare program. For example, perhaps you are adding slots at your current facility and could easily fill these slots using your existing wait list. However, if you are opening up a new location in another part of town or are transitioning from a family childcare setting to a center based program, these could be deal breakers for your families if the location is not good for them or if they prefer family childcare over a center based program. For this reason, it's important not to assume that a wait list equals instant revenue. Speaking with families on your wait list in advance can give you the information that you need to determine how many are likely to enroll in your expanded program, providing your business with the necessary revenue to sustain the added cost associated with growth. And finally, does your growth plan align with the needs of your community? The final way that we recommend engaging demand before you undertake growth planning is to assess the needs of your community through talking with current families in your care, those on your wait list, and even others in the community. You can reach out to families on your own or engage your staff to participate to better understand exactly who needs the care in the area that you are considering growing in. Now, it is also helpful to understand the childcare landscape of the area and learn what other types of childcare businesses and programs are available. For example, are there particular services or characteristics of the location and the families in the area that you need to consider? What hours of operation and other services, such as before and after school care, are those families seeking? What about the ages of the children that you plan to serve? Ensuring that your growth plan aligns with the needs of the community in which you wish to grow will help to give your expanded business the greatest chance of success. Uh, the action of assessing demand when considering future growth should always be the first step in your expansion planning. Before any other actions, you will want to determine the need for your services without assessing the need for increased childcare in your area. You will not be able to make projections for your future success. Assessing demand as you create your expansion plan will help you identify realistic financial expectations. Assessing demand also helps guide you with decision making, such as deciding how large of an expansion you will need to undertake or determining which age groups that you will care for within your new expansion. Step 2, consider your staffing needs. An essential step early in your expansion planning is to consider your staffing needs. You will want to begin determining your staffing needs as soon as you understand the demand for your services. How much of an increase in staffing will you need? What level of education and experience will your new staff members need? What is the best way to attract new talent? These are all questions you will want to ask yourself as you consider your staffing needs. Now, to begin, you want to start with conversations with your existing employees about their interest in a new location, if you are adding one, or people they know who may be interested in working in the program. Now, if expanding into a new region, it is also helpful to ask people familiar with the area about ways to attract employees, such as local workforce development boards. Now, you do not need every position filled before you start to grow, but you should have a solid idea of what your staffing needs are, um, and a plan for how you will secure that talent. You will also want to consider your cost of hiring staff early. Typically, you need to hire staff before you have the revenue to fully cover their costs. And this will be something to consider in step 3 and your budget. Now, you might also want to consider some ways to recruit and attract high quality staff to ensure you have a group of qualified candidates to choose from. So make sure that you are realistic about your staffing needs and your ability to attract and retain employees. Because finding talent can often be challenging, consider the following. Connect with other childcare professionals in your network and share that you are hiring. Post jobs listings on social media and sites such as Indeed. And look into early education programs, community colleges, and high schools for upcoming graduates who are eager to get started in childcare. Now, why is finding the right staff so important? Why is finding the right staff so important? While hiring employees can be difficult in today's job market, finding the right staff is essential to your success. In childcare centers, your administrators, teachers, aides, cooks, receptionists, and everyone else you hire is crucial to providing a safe environment, an enriching environment for the children in your care, as well as comfort and peace of mind among the parents and guardians. For family childcare providers, your substitutes and volunteers are most like extensions of your own program's quality, and you're going to want to maintain that standard of quality above all else. Now, step 3 is to develop a clear picture of your finances. Before you undertake your expansion, it is crucial that you have a clear picture of your finances. So, if a provider attempts to grow their business when they are not in a solid financial position, this can result in so much pressure on their business to generate that revenue that it can damage their child care business in the process or even put the child care provider out of business. Accordingly, if you do not have one already, ensure that you have a budget for your current year to guide your growth and planning. You should then build off of this information to ensure that you have a clear picture of your financial health by developing a cash flow forecast for the next 6 to 12 months. The difference between your cash flow and budget is important. A budget will tell you how much you think you are going to spend and how much you are spending over a year, while your cash flow will tell you how much money you have coming in and how much you have going out every month. Having adequate cash flow is essential for business startups. For many news sites expansions, there is lot of money that needs to be put up front, including personnel costs like those staff mentioned previously, supplies, marketing, furniture, and any renovations. Now, these expenses occur before you even begin to enroll children, and certainly before you reach the program's full enrollment potential. So you must have enough cash to float your business until you can at least break even. Money is the lifeblood of any business, and as such, making sure you are financially sound is critical before you undertake any growth. Now, this will let you know how much you plan to spend and how much you are making. So you have a sense of how much money you then have to invest in potential growth. Now let's look closer at the differences between a budget and a cash flow. Assume for the first 6 months of the year, provider has a budget with $12,000 in revenue and $8,000 in expenses. As shown here, things look good. At the end of 6 months, this provider will have $4,000 left in profit. But let's take a look at the cash flow for the same time period. When we look at the revenue in cash flow, we see that this provider is getting reimbursed for subsidy, and there's a delay of 60 days. So her revenue doesn't start coming in until March. In the meantime, her expenses are the same every month. Does she end up with a $4,000 in profit at the end of the 6 months? Yes. But for those 2 months, she's in debt and maybe out of business because she can't pay her bills. No matter how much support you get in expanding your business, it's going to cost additional money in some way, either through loan payments or investing in your own capital into your business directly. So you should be aware of how much you are spending versus how much you are taking in per month so that you can understand this additional burden, which is going to be one that you can accept, or is it going to be one that might be devastating? Step 4, create a business plan. Your next step is to create your business plan, and there are many different types of business plans available, but we recommend you use a simple business plan that provides the most essential elements. Whether you use a simple format or any other, it is critical to have a game plan for your growth and make sure that you have a keen understanding and projected timeline of one, what you plan to undertake, and two, how you are going to line up the families and children that you need to bring in revenue. You'll also need to consider if you have the staff on hand to make it a success, and that you have all of the facility permits and licenses needed to open for business on time, and that you will have the cash flow throughout at least the first year so that you can keep paying your bills and other obligations. So, having a written business plan that includes a clear budget will not only help to have a pathway to growing your business, but it also helps you identify where you may need extra attention or finances. Now, in the development of your business plan, there are four components that we feel are necessary to include to get started. First is the value proposition. Your value proposition is simply answering the question, why you? The value proposition can be important because it reminds you of of why children and families love your services. Next is assessment of current situation. Take a comprehensive look at your business performance and feedback. This will help you understand what you need or what your needs are and how you can prepare for the future. Conducting a SWOT analysis is taking a deeper look at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of your businesses. Through the SWOT analysis, you will divide your data into four quadrants, whether a factor is positive or negative, and whether it is about the present or the future. Now, using the information, you're going to use that to build your business plan. Doing the first three steps will give you an outline for what you plan, what your plan is going to look like. And all the information taken from these will be included in the plan and gives you and your investors a look at how you plan to operate and sustain your childcare business. Step 5, assess capital to support your growth. In many cases, when you plan to grow, you're going to need additional funds to make it a reality. So let's talk about that. Whether you're just adding a classroom to your current facility or building a whole new center for a family childcare business, you will incur additional cost. In these cases, assessing capital can be helpful because it provides money to help you grow to then make more money. However, you should make sure that you can handle any associated cost with assessing capital. So here are the most common types of funding for your expansion. First is assessing any funds that you have saved and put aside for your business. Then you have other options such as utilizing friends and families, business credit cards, business lines of credit, and lastly, term loans. So let's look at each of these a little closer. We'll start with friends and family. One of the great misconceptions about business debt is that it works just like you see on TV. Somebody has a great idea for their business. They go to the bank gives them a big loan, they expand their business, and everyone lives happily ever after. When you look statistically at the way businesses gain the credit to grow, overwhelmingly the source of funding is friends and family. Your agreement doesn't have to be for a 40-page contract, but it should include some items that clarify key details of the loan. So these points should include how much money you owe, whether it is only the borrowed money that you owe them, and if you will also owe them a percentage of the profits of the business and in the long term. So business credit cards is our next category. Business credit cards are a simple way to access funds for smaller, short-term, more immediate funding needs. For example, maybe you don't have cash on hand to pay a repair, but you know you will by the end of the month, so you could use your business credit card. A business credit card lets you start building your credit history as soon as you open the account, which will be helpful if you need larger amounts of funding in the future. The disadvantage of business credit cards is that they are typically offered at a high interest rate and may not provide access to the amount of money you would need to or for those larger expansion projects. In terms of business lines of credit, a business line of credit is from banks or other lenders and is another great short-term loan vehicle. It acts similar to a credit card, but works for slightly longer term purposes. For example, pretend you are expanding your business and you need to cover 2 weeks of payroll while new families are brought into your care. In that case, you may want to use a business line of credit. The advantage of business lines of credit is that they are flexible. At any time after you are approved, you can withdraw funds from the line of credit up to the full amount for which you were approved. You do not need to use the funds immediately, nor do you need to use all of them all at once. The other advantage is that you may only take out the amount you need. Term loans. Term loans are a very common loan structure. Many mortgage loans are set up in this way. Now, there is a set amount that you are borrowing that must be repaid by the end of the loan term, which means that there is a time when the loan starts and when it has to be completely paid off. There is typically an associated interest rate that may be fixed or may be variable. That is, it may change over time. Now, these types of loans are usually best for a very specific project or activities in which you know how much it's going to cost overall, and you have a sense of how it will fit into your day-to-day business. Most importantly, you know exactly how long you have to repay the debt. Now, your loan term could be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, or 30 years, depending on its size and type. The interest rate varies based on your circumstances and the current economy. Term loans might be a good option for expanding a playground if you know that you can pay it off within 5 years, or even for purchasing commercial property and paying it off over 20 years. Term loans are long-term debt, which of course could put some strain on your business. The advantage is you typically know what the recurring payments are going to be and can figure them into your long-term budget. Personal or business savings. Perhaps you have been considering growing your business for some time and have been saving either funds through your business allocated to your expansion or your personal funds. Now, this type of funding is a great way to help your expansion move forward, but you will want to make sure that you still keep emergency funds available for anything that may happen outside of the business expansion. And once you have completed all of these steps, it's time to put your expansion plans into action. Having completed those 5 steps, you have accomplished a lot, but there is still more work to be done. So, if your project involves construction, you will need to find a professional contractor to complete your project, get several bids if you are able. So, once you have received your quotes, make sure that the quote you accept aligns with your funding. And finally, work with your contractor to determine a construction timeline so you can estimate your opening date. Begin your research to find the best prices on new supplies, furniture, and equipment. Smart shopping might help you come in under budget. Another important action is that once you know your estimated opening date, increase your marketing efforts to let families know you will soon have availability in your program. And make sure you have contacted licensing for your next actions so that you can remain in compliance. Now, as you move through your new expansion, you should keep in mind that there are professional resources that can help you along the way. Such resources can include the Small Business Administration, or SBA. They offer guidance, funding options, and business planning assistance. Your local Chamber of Commerce is another resource. They offer networking opportunities and business resources. Banking professionals, they can assist you with financing your expansion. Attorneys, now there may be legal aspects to expanding your business. Engaging an attorney will be a smart decision if support is needed. Another resource is tax professionals. Uh, there may be changes in your business structure or increases in the amount or type of taxes you will need to pay. So, work with a tax professional to ensure that you are prepared for any changes to your tax situation. And finally, your peer network. Don't overlook the support and guidance you can receive from other childcare providers who may have had their own expansion experience. If you don't have a local network, join a Facebook group for childcare business owners to learn from others and potentially ask questions from other business owners. And don't forget the support that you will gain from decals. Their Thriving Childcare Business Academy offers numerous guides and resources to help you master the elements of running your business. You can join upcoming webinars and also participate in small study groups for deep dives into topics that really matter most to childcare business owners. And you can visit www.decal.ga.gov/thriving to learn more. We will drop that link in the chat for your convenience. Now let's quickly wrap up and do a reflection. Uh, we want to thank you again for taking time to join our webinar today. Before we close, let's take a couple of moments to review what we've accomplished in our time together. So hopefully after today, you should be able to identify if you are ready to grow your business and assess the associated risk. You should begin working through the 5 steps to plan your expansion, understand how to make sound financial decisions for your business's growth, and determine ways to access capital. Now, we do encourage you to visit the resource page to access additional resources and reference materials. Excuse me. All right. We have now reached the section of our training where we will open it up for questions. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or come off mute. You're welcome, Ms. Taylor. And also be advised that the links that we discussed are also available in the chat. Feel free to come off mute if you have any questions.
Marlene, this is Ann Taylor. How you doing?
Hi, Ms. Taylor. I'm doing well. How are you?
Great, great. This is awesome. So much great information that you've shared with us today. Thank you so much.
You are quite.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying you're quite welcome. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I wanted to know, with these particular slides, are you able to send those out to us? Because I missed a couple. I was switching from the computer to my phone, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss any of it.
So I will, and I know Margaret can chime in if I'm not accurate on this, but I believe that these will be recorded.
Okay.
And you will have access to that recording.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Miss Margaret, and you too, Marlene. We appreciate you all. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you. All right. I think I saw some activity in the chat here. So let me go back and see. Let's see. Oh, it went too fast for me. Okay, so Bridget put, when you mention expansion, are you referring to expansion of your licensed home or a separate structure? So when we reference expansion, it could be either of those two things. If you want to expand your current facility, you still need to make sure that you have enough revenue and capital to support those expansion efforts. If you are looking to move into a separate structure, that those same rules will apply. So we are referring to both. And thank you for your question, Bridget.
And thank you so much. I just wanted clarification, I guess audibly, because a lot of people on this call today are family providers. And so when you say expansion, we could have more square footage, but we can still only be licensed for either 4 or 6 children under the licensing rules.
Right.
For decals. So that's what I just wanted to make sure I was understanding, because it's not going to be an expansion of your family childcare business. It's going to be a whole separate new business if you take on a different structure, because the family is not transferable to a structure for more than 6 children.
Absolutely. And that's why we mentioned that it's important to do that assessment of your families to see if that new location is something that they would be interested in, even willing to transition to. So making sure that you understand the supply and demand is very critical before ever starting that. And thank you, Ms. Willis. I really appreciate you chiming in and doing that for clarification purposes. All right, let's see. Patricia, this has been very good. I love the presentation and the timing was great. Thank you, Ms. Patricia. Claudio. All right. That was just dropping the link.
Yo quería comentar.
Okay.
A veces hay la posibilidad, está todavía
Okay. Claudio, I wasn't able to get the transcription of that. Could you help me to understand the nature of her question, please?
¿ya?
I can hear you, Claudio.
I can't hear him.
Mire, yo quería comentar que DICAR da esa opción cuando son ya daycares, cuando son centros, dan esa oportunidad de que abran otro centro, pero a nosotros como Family Daycare no tenemos esa posibilidad porque si nosotros tenemos un Family Daycare y queremos abrir un centro, nos toca cerrar nuestro Family Daycare para que nos den acceso a eso. Entonces, ahí sí está mal en esa forma radical, creo yo.
Hey, Margaret, if you can hear Claudio, would you be so kind as to address that or at least give me?
Marlene, I
I-
can't hear you now. I'm not sure if others are having that problem. Were you able to hear Claudio's comment from Martha?
I was not.
I can hear Claudio, I can hear Martha, I can hear Margaret, and I can hear
Perfect.
Marlene. So I'm not
Okay,
sure.
good. But Claudia was saying that Martha was commenting that she's also a family child care provider. And she's saying that there's often incentives for centers to expand and open other centers, but that opportunity isn't always there for family child care providers. So she's finding this expansion to be more difficult to access.
Yeah, and that typically is the case for family childcares. Unless you're looking to expand as a center, then it can be a bit more challenging. So that is absolutely true in this case. If you are like as Ms. Willis mentioned before, if your capacity is for the expansion for homes, typically it's just expanding to 6 capacity or finding a new location. But of course, again, none of that is transferable. So those are the things that you will need to consider in those cases. Any additional questions in the room? And Margaret, I'm sorry, unfortunately, I am not able to hear Claudio at all.
That's okay. If there's anything else, I can relay it.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see any additional activity in the chat. Again, if you have questions, feel free to come off mute while we still have a few minutes.
Ms. Marlene, it's not contingent on this training, but I do believe I read the email that said this is the last training before you have a break. So I didn't know if you wanted to address that. And my apologies if I'm getting ahead of your closing remarks.
No worries, Ms. Willis, and you're absolutely right. This is our last training, and we will resume trainings again. And Margaret, I know that you have that information, so I'm not going to blunder that. I'll allow you to give that information as well.
Yeah, so Ms. Bridget put it in the chat. Thank
En
you.
octubre.
October is when the webinar trainings will be returning. We're also taking a brief pause on our small group coaching registration. So and you're still able to register, but we won't be enrolling more classes. We won't be starting more small groups until September, a little bit later in September. It's sort of a contract thing with DECAL, just making sure that we're all staying in line with the requirements of our coaching obligations. So there will be more small group coaching and additional topics coming. And then we will also resume webinars later in October. And again, more topics, new trainings, and some of the really important tax trainings as well coming back as we get ready for tax season coming up here. So just to preview some of those new small study groups, there's going to be a track all about technology and tech integrations for your business. We're going to have a series all about the changes for CAPS and the reimbursement rates that are changing. There's going to be a tax small group training track as well. So there's a lot of really good stuff on its way. So definitely keep an eye out on the Thriving Childcare Business Academy site. And if you have any questions in the meantime, you can reach out to me. I know most of you have my email, or reach out to gacoaching@civstrat.com, which I'll throw that in the chat. That's going to be your best line of communication if you have any questions about the small groups.
Thank you so much, Margaret. Yes, we are definitely looking forward to all of the new and exciting topics that are be coming out soon. And we're very confident that you'll love and enjoy all of those. Um, all right, if there are no further questions, we will invite you, as we mentioned, those small study groups in September. You can join us for those groups. Don't necessarily need to use the QR code, but we do want to let you know that the small study groups, if you have questions about that, please direct that to the GA coaching at civstrat.com. And you can get additional information on that. Also, we will continue our coaching again later on. No need to do that again. If you are interested in any coaching opportunities, again, we will direct that to the GA coaching at civstrat.com. All right. And I believe that is everything that we have for you today. Thank you so very much. If you would like to get more information for the Thriving Childcare Business Academy, go to the website at decal.ga.gov/thriving. There you can browse the entire library of self-study guides on topics related to your childcare business and learn about and register for upcoming webinars. All right. And that is everything that I have for you all today. Thank you so much for joining us. And take care, everyone.